calcium of itself is you can't just have calcium to be calcium sufficient. You need
Yes.
magnesium to help absorb the calcium. You need vitamin D.
Right.
So it's important for people to know like sometimes the balance, the lack of diversity is what leads to the dis-ease in the body as well too.
Absolutely. And it goes back to stressing the importance of balance,
Yeah.
right? And so this friend of mine said, I'm going to join you. Will you help me create a raw food component
Yeah.
in this new vegan restaurant? So I said, sure. Manana had a Sister Manana had a vegan restaurant in what is now the building that is housing Wadada.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
got you.
Prior to that, though, Soul Vegetarian folks had it, and it was called Everlasting Life.
Okay, I remember that.
So Manana got it from them. Manana was a student of Dr. Sabi's.
Yeah.
And so myself and a sister named Adio Akil, who had been working with raw foods, gosh, for decades, she too was a student of Dr. Sabi's. And in fact, she was the person who brought Dr. Sabi, she and her husband brought Dr. Sabi to the US back in the early 80s.
Got you.
So Adio said, let's do this. I said, okay, great, start doing it. She and I had what I call professional jealousy
Okay.
because folks were, how do I say this? Her food was good.
Yeah.
They liked mine better.
Okay.
Okay. So I ended up leaving. It's like, deuces, I'm out. I don't do food. I do hair. I'm out. But I had a few weeks prior thrown a spiritual temper tantrum in front of my ancestor altars, asking the Most High, please, 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 let me know what my life's purpose is.
Got you.
And when I did, about 2 days later, that's when I got the call from Audio saying, come help me do this. Well, once I left, I was literally being called by people asking how could they get my food. I was being stopped at the store, stopped at the stop sign, stopped
Yeah.
in the park, all of this. And
Don't
so I
blame
was
'em.
like, wow, this is really a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I began to then vend and share my food through catering, through making food at home. And so I continued my hair business and spiritual counseling business, and those businesses actually fed the food business.
Gotcha.
So after 3 years of bouncing around the West End, subletting from different locations, I was in Healthful Essence for about 9 months. I was in Mutana for about 2 months.
Okay.
I was in the Grounds Coffee House. I don't know if you remember that, right behind the CVS.
Yep.
I was in there for about 3 or 4 months.
Gotcha.
What I didn't realize at the time was I was cultivating a following.
Yep.
And I thought the Most High was just being cruel to me. I was compelled, so I couldn't stop. Failure wasn't even an option, it wasn't a consideration. Can't was not a part of my vocabulary. I didn't know how it was happening. I just knew that it was.
Yeah.
I started with $250.
Right.
My dad matched that.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to sublet from Princess. And that's when the raw reality was officially born.
Yeah.
Again, another situation where folks preferred my food over hers, even though she was doing hot food.
Yeah.
Um, all of those things that initially really hurt me in my journey and were big disappointments and what most would have considered failures,
Yeah.
they were just experiences that were getting me ready.
Preparing you.
Yeah. So that when I opened the doors at 10:59 on January 1st, 2011, I was working my numbers. um, I haven't had to ever close them.
Man, and let me
know?
tell you something. Whenever I go to Tassili's, good gracious, there is always a line, and there's always people chilling outside on the porch, chilling in the little garden out front, and prepared to wait for the food because it's slow food,
Absolutely.
but it's healing food.
Yes.
And I have I have enjoyed even the experience of just being in a line of hearing people talk about, what they're gonna order and what are you gonna order and what they love the most. And, did you hear this song? And listening to the playlist while we're there. It's been a beautiful
Yeah.
experience to experience it all.
There's something to be said for line culture. We're not the only one that has lines, and we certainly want to make it a pleasurable experience for people so that they're not waiting 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah, of
But
course.
it happens, and I'm thankful for our line culture,
Me too.
because it is a part of the
It
experience,
is.
as you said. And I remember as a little girl, and this speaks to the power of suggestion and following your
Yeah,
heart, even when you don't know where your heart's leading you.
yeah.
I remember as a little girl hearing the Temptations, Psychedelic Shack, on
Okay.
the radio. And I used to say to my mom, I want to go there. And my mother would look at me and say, I told you there is no such place.
Yeah.
It's not real. Well, it had to be about 2015. One summer, I was on the porch and there was somebody doing card readings. It was incense burning. I didn't have peace signs. I had onks and jinyames. There were vendors out there, folks chilling. There were people who were there of all walks of life and diversities.
Yeah.
And that song, Psychedelic Shack, came to mind. I was like, oh my God, I've created the Psychedelic Shack.
Indeed.
Shout out to the Temptations, Psychedelic Shack. Y'all got to check it out. But millionaires, kings, and queens come there to do their thing. And you might
Indeed.
see anybody there.
Yeah.
It's right
Erica
around the corner,
Badu, Snoop
just around
Dogg.
the track. Yin Yang Twins, India Irie. I could go on and on and on. Jaden Smith. What is the brother's name? I always forget his name, but he played Thurgood Marshall. He's played in so many. He was, I think, Ant-Man.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what I'm talking, Anthony something. Anyway, he's come through. He's a regular. There's so many people that are
Yeah.
regulars.
Rory, who I love.
Rory, he's one of
Love
our
his music.
all-time
Yeah.
favorites, Of course, plant-based dripping,
Gray.
Gray,
Yeah.
official Gray. Um, we've just been blessed. Queen Afua comes through. Oh gosh,
The
I
list
could
is
go
long.
on. Yes, there's so many wonderful ones that have
With
blessed
all
us.
with all this experience, and I have my answer to this, but do you believe that food can be a connection to our own divinity?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I heard you touch on it earlier in one of your shows where you talked about um the importance of eating and how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And that's one of our taglines that it's not really a line per se, it's really a motto as well.
Yeah.
And it is that when you eat well, you feel good. When you feel good, you think better.
Yeah.
When you think better, you make better choices. And when you make better choices, you can improve the quality of life, not only for yourself, but those around you.
Yeah.
And so it's a simple equation. And I encourage people, as we circle back around to where we started, get to know you.
Yeah. And the last question for today. If you ruled the world, how would you heal our people?
Oh my goodness. I tell everybody to come to Tassili's Raw Reality. I tell you to stay tuned to our Facebook, our Instagram, because I'm actually going to start doing classes again.
Gotcha.
I would tell you to support all healthy eateries, right?
Yeah.
As so many folks have said, you know, particularly when Pinky started up, but they were very competitive in nature with their conversation already. They were like, "Oh, so and so's your competition." So I was like, "No, we're
We're
allies."
aligned.
You know,
Yeah.
McDonald's is the competition.
Exactly.
Wendy's is the competition. We're fighting for the very souls of our people.
Right.
And so with that in mind, I serve life to the people.
Yeah.
Even Pinky from Slutty Vegan, she told me in her early days that our restaurant was her favorite place to go, and her
Yeah.
favorite wrap was the Bunani wrap.
Yeah.
Thus the inspiration. Now, certainly she's taken it to a completely different level,
Yeah.
and I am so proud of her. And while people said, "Oh, you know, there's this and there's that, and she's going to take your market," I said, "Not at all.
Yeah.
Pinky is touching and reaching people that I didn't have access to,
Yeah.
a whole market."
I totally
And
agree.
she opened it up in a way so that all healthy eateries now can
Yeah.
be explored by people who would never have considered
Absolutely.
anything plant-based.
Yeah.
So I give shout outs to anyone who is doing their thing,
Yeah.
like really going for it, being their best self, using food as medicine. We just do it deliciously. And I tell people, come and taste it for yourself. Because
Find out
after
for
you
yourself.
eat all the other vegan food options that are out there, you're going to want to come to the raw reality.
Hey,